Hello, welcome to the Energy Career Cycle. Once again, my name is Ayodeji Stephen, and I'm here to welcome you to this edition. Today, we're going to be talking about something very important, and I believe that is going to change the trajectory of our career, help us to improve in the way we carry out our work, and also even help us to get more involved in the energy sector. So, we're going to be talking about how we can understand roles in clean energy. Um, in terms of engineering, research, operation, sales, policy. How do we identify where we can fit in the energy sector? How do we identify the skills? We spoke about a bit of this in our last episode, but today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this, and I believe that this is going to help you a lot. All right. Now, while understanding roles is important, clean energy is not just one job, right? It's an ecosystem of roles. So you have so many roles in the energy sector. So you see, oftentimes people will say, my desire is that I want to work in the clean energy space. I want to be a sustainability expert, but that's not it. You have to deep dive. And I think I mentioned this in our last episode. You have to deep dive. You have to be clear about what you want. You have to be able to analyze. So this is the exact sector that I want to come into. And when you're able to do this, then you have some bit of clarity. And remember that we said in one of our last episodes that without clarity, progress is not going to be as it should be, right? So, and many people fail in their understanding of roles in the energy sector because number one, they train for the wrong role, right? And if you train for the wrong role, you would not be able to apply the skills that you have developed. Even though you have skills, you have useful skills, but you don't have useful skills that apply to the role that you want to get into, right? Other thing is that they also apply for jobs that they don't understand. And I see a lot of people do this. This is something that I almost got caught in the web of it, right? Earlier in my career. And thinking about, and frankly, I would say this, it's something that comes forward with a survivor mindset. People want to get jobs. They be like, oh, I've gone to the university for 4 years, or I've taken this course for like 6 months or like 10 months or even a year. And now I think that I need to start getting financial capacity or getting some financial feedback to be able to take care of myself, or maybe to even pay my loans, right? And oftentimes, because people are in a pressure to do this, or because maybe from their background, the kind of experiences that they had growing up, they had the mindset of survival. Therefore, they then do not understand the energy sector, the roles in it, and therefore they do not have the time and the patience to even understand it and to properly and carefully select the roles that they should be going to. Now, it's important that you know the role types that helps you as an individual that wants to come into the energy sector, that wants to grow in the energy sector, that wants to do amazing things in the energy sector. You first need to understand yourself and understand the roles that would help you towards getting to where you want to get to. And what this inevitably means is that you need to have a goal in the energy sector. So as a professional, ask yourself, what are my goals as a professional working in the energy sector? In fact, what are my goals for this year? And therefore, those will determine the kind of roles that you apply for, the kind of skills that you will develop. Now, one thing, once you know your roles, and how knowing your roles will also help you, is that first you have to choose the right career path. You have to choose the right career path, and also then you build the right skills, and most importantly, target the right employer. This is something that I cannot overemphasize. You have to have the right employer. It's very possible that you have the right skills, you have the right career path, but if you have the wrong employer, you will not be making the progress that you want to make in your career. And so, what that implies is that clarity comes before certificates. And you see, as someone that grew up in Nigeria, where we grew up from a background where many people have, maybe you wanted to study medicine. I wanted to study medicine at a point. You wanted to study medicine, and maybe you were given biochemistry. It sort of feels like your journey has been distorted. However, this is what you do. First off, the theory of making lemonade out of lemons. So now that you have studied biochemistry, what is the best that you can do, that you can become, that would get you towards where you want to be, essentially? Oftentimes people will say the reason I want to become maybe a medical doctor is because I want to help people. With biochemistry, you can help people, but then you now need to properly align your path and make sure that you do the best to become the best in that. So certificate and clarity before certificate. It's important that we gain clarity. Like I said, survival is the one thing that is a threat to clarity for many people. And because of this survival mindset, many people try to do a lot of things. Some days ago, we were trying to get someone on our team. We interviewed him, and one of the things he mentioned was that he agreed that he has done quite a lot of things, and so there is no coherence in his CV. Because when we looked at the CV, we saw that he had taken a role as a fire officer, he had taken another role in several positions that, there is no coherence even in the industries. And this comes into play because of a lack of clarity. So before you get a certificate, before you get a training, think, what do I want to do with this, and how would it get me towards my ultimate goal? That's quite important. Now, when we look at roles in the energy sector, we have several roles. We have technical roles and non-technical roles. Now, looking into the technical roles, we have engineering roles, right? And also we have research roles. But when we deep dive into the engineering roles are roles that look into design and building of systems. Take for example, we say solar, wind, hydrogen batteries, right? Those are technical roles and they require very technical skills, which we had mentioned in one of our past episodes. Now, in getting into these roles, there are things that you need to think about. There are typical jobs, right? And there are entry points. Example of typical jobs would be maybe you being an electrical engineer, you being a mechanical engineer, or maybe an energy systems engineer. These are courses that you can take trainings on in school as an undergraduate, or even you can take more trainings maybe in the postgraduate level of maybe say an MSc now or a diploma certificate. However, you can also take trainings to equip yourself to get better, maybe on platforms like Coursera, EDX, and all of that. So there are actually opportunities and avenues to learn. So these are typical jobs that you can do, and then you learn to get into those roles. But there are entry points. Entry points could be maybe you getting an engineering degree, which is very important. There's no discouragement that we need engineers in the world and the impact of engineers in the world. In fact, the reason myself and you can be speaking like this is partly because of the work that engineers have done, in some sense. So after getting your engineering degree, what's the next thing? These are questions and genuine questions. So an internship or graduate roles. So you can apply to be an intern in an organization, or you are taken in as a volunteer. That's also a pathway to getting into these technical and engineering roles. Or you get involved with field technician work, which is very also important. Oftentimes people look down on this type of roles, but they are very important to developing practical skills that will make you a key person in any industry that you get into, or any company that you get into. On the other side, you have research roles, which are also technical roles. Research is quite technical. Not everyone can do research, and I think that's an important thing to emphasize. Right? You can develop new technology, or you improve existing roles. So when I say research, I mean research and development. So you develop new technology via these. You look at also how to improve the existing ones. Typical jobs could include maybe say a research assistant, an energy analyst, a PhD, or a lab scientist, which is important, very important. Technical, difficult, time consuming, but important. To the development of humanity. Entry point could be maybe you take a STEM degree, one of which is engineering, could be physics, could be mathematics. You take a STEM degree. STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? So you take maybe a STEM degree, and then maybe say you also then develop data analysis skills. Please, if you can, get some knowledge of data analysis, even if it's how to use Excel for data analysis. Very important. Very important. Or maybe you now join an academic or a think tank. If you get a role in those institutions, an academic role could be maybe you becoming a lecturer, or you begin to then maybe be a research assistant to a lecturer or a think tank, and then you can work maybe say a research analyst or a policy analyst. But all of these will require some bit of technicality in these roles. Now, also we have business and delivery roles. Now, in business and delivery roles, they are divided into two, so maybe operational roles and also project management roles. So for the operational roles, these are roles that keep energy systems running daily. They are important because of the daily operations of various energy systems. So maybe your power plant, or maybe your wind farm, your solar farm. Those are very important roles, and they keep them working every day. The typical jobs in this include maybe being a plant operator, Also, be a site supervisor. Also, maybe say an asset manager. Very important. These are roles that you could consider under maybe operational roles. Now, the skills that you will need include skills like technical understanding. You need to understand a lot. You need to understand zoning of power. You need to understand how power is being measured, how to also work with power. You also need to understand how not to overload the system, how to balance the system. Those are technical understanding that you need to develop. Also, safety and maintenance. These are skills that you need to develop for you to get into roles like this. So you can, when you might be asking, I don't know how to get into this role. Now I'm giving you a blueprint of how to get into the role. First, you develop your technical understanding, you develop your knowledge of safety and maintenance, and also your problem solving skills. Now, problem solving skills, because in this role there will be several unforeseen problems, some foreseen, some unforeseen, but you need to be able to solve those problems, and that means that you need to be versatile in the way you think and be able to adapt quickly to situations and find solutions to problems. So your problem solving skills, quite important. Like I mentioned earlier, project management roles. So project management roles, these are roles that deliver project from idea to reality. They are the framework of any project that you see today. They make sure that the project from the conceptual stage, right, to the handing over stage, that the project is developed. Typical jobs maybe being a project officer, a project manager. A project officer is different from a project manager, or maybe a construction coordinator, right? And so when you look at this, you will see that the energy sector, like I said, it's a web, it's an ecosystem of roles. So it's not just one role, and you have to be specific. And your specificity is how you would then begin to understand the skills that you need to develop, how you can apply those skills, where you can apply those skills, as some of the things which we have covered today. So the skills you will need for you to enter into project management roles. So maybe you want to be a project officer, you want to be a construction coordinator, you want to be a project manager. Skills like planning and scheduling. These are things that you need to understand. Right? And for each of these skills, you can take time to develop them through learning, through taking courses, through volunteering, through internships, just for you to get better and being the best of yourself in each of these skills. Also budget control and also stakeholder management. Budget control, because as a project manager, you have to manage the budget that you've been given. You can't afford to just spend and overshoot beyond your budget. Right? And also stakeholder management. Why? Because you have to engage with a lot of people. There will be several people that you have to manage, several things around the success of a project that you have to make sure they are working properly. So these are things that you need to pay attention to, skills that you need, roles that you can also get into for project management roles. And that wraps up them. Business and delivery roles. Also, there are also roles that involve market and influence. These are roles around sales and policy. Right? So there are sales and commercial roles. Example, these are roles that actually sell clean energy solutions. Example of jobs or roles under this would include business development or a business developer, a sales engineer, and also maybe a commercial analyst. Oil, retail institutions or companies have a commercial analyst, right? What skills are you going to need? You need skills in communication, skills in negotiation, and skills that involve market knowledge. So you need to have is a huge and deep knowledge of the market. You need to understand what is moving in the market. And frankly, behind this veil, you will understand that you need knowledge of the financial market. So when something is announced in the news, how does this impact the industry? I mean, those are things that you need to know and be conversant with. So develop skills in negotiation also. You have to negotiate deals with so many people along the value chain of your work, and also communicate with all of these people in a respectful and clear manner. Another type of role under this is policy and advocacy roles. Now, what these roles do is that they shape laws, they strategize, and they create incentives for the development of the sector, for the operation of other players in the sector. Typical jobs, and in our conversation, that will be energy sector. Typical jobs will be policy analyst, a climate advisor, and a government liaison. For skills that you will need will be skills like research, writing, economics, and regulation. For free, I'm giving you a resource that you can look up. So if you want to develop your skill in research, in writing, in economics and regulation, look for courses by the Florence School of Regulation. I am proudly announcing it because I've been a beneficiary of their scholarships over time. So you can look for their courses and take their courses, and you would really improve when it comes to energy policy and regulation, preparing you for a role in policy analysis and policy and advocacy roles. Yeah, so there are pathways and entry points to the energy sector. There is no single pathway into clean energy. There is no single pathway. There is no hard and fast rule that this is what you must do for you to get into a role in the energy sector. Now, examples is, say you are an engineer. You can actually, from being an engineer, you can develop yourself and select target skills that make you a project manager. So an engineer is not just, someone that you can only be on the field. No. And from being a project manager, you can actually become an energy director if you will just choose the skills that you want to develop and focus on those skills. Those skills will then begin to guide the roles that you get into, the roles you apply into, and how the outcome of your career eventually shapes up. Right now, if you're a researcher, or say maybe you have research skills, you can become a policy advisor. Remember when I mentioned policy and advocacy roles, say research writing, and then you are able to understand research, you're able to write research, and then you have policy knowledge, right? So you can become a policy advisor, and from there, doing your work properly, you become a government consultant in the energy sector, right? Or maybe you're a sales officer right now. So there are pathways, and you can choose whichever way you want to meander your way in the energy sector and how you want to grow, which sector you want to go into. All you need to do is have clarity and then develop the skills. So have clarity about the role you want to get into, why you want to get into that role, what you want to do in that role, and then you begin to develop the skills. So a sales officer can become a business development manager and therefore eventually become an energy entrepreneur. So entry strategies, you could maybe get into internships and volunteering. I cannot overemphasize the role of internship and the role of volunteering. So several institutions have internships that they roll out year by year. Be on the lookout for this, that they have volunteering positions that they roll out from time to time. Be on the lookout for things like this. They will help you to develop your skills. They will help you to grow as someone coming into the energy sector. Also, online courses and practical projects. So it's not just you taking courses. You have to be exercising the knowledge you're gaining by engaging in practical projects. I have dealt with this 30, 60, 90-day rule in one of our past episodes. Also, industry event and networking. Please go for industry event. This is how you're going to know what is happening in the sector. This is how you're going to meet the who is who in the sector. And this is possibly how you can get jobs, by just networking with the right people in the sector. And also content creation, maybe on LinkedIn. Put out what you're learning, put out what you're doing. Let people know what you're doing, and by this you're increasing your visibility and you are rightly positioning yourself for growth in the sector. So key takeaways from this episode, and when you are in the energy sector, you need to know that there are clean energy needs. We need people. The energy sector needs people. Some years ago, I took a training with the University of Ulster, and we found out that there are a lot of roles that have not been filled when it comes to hydrogen safety engineering. So, take for example, the hydrogen safety sector needs a lot of people to come and work there, but the training is not there, and the people interested in the training are not yet there. So there is a lot of gaps that still needs to be covered. So clean energy needs like builders, we need engineering, we need people that can think. So I categorize them, and that's why I said builders. So builders are the engineers. The thinkers are those that do research. The doers are the people on the operational side of things. The sellers are the people that sell, the sales people, right? The organizers are the project managers, and the rule makers, the ones in terms of policy, or say rule influencers. So you can find one or two of these and say, I will become the best in this. Builders, thinkers, doers, sellers, organizers, and role influencers, those in policy. Now, you don't need to be an engineer to work in clean energy. Please note that. You do not need to be an engineer to work in the clean energy sector. And also, choose a role before choosing a course. So as we end this episode, I want to ask you to please identify your role type and start building skills for that role. That will change the trajectory of your career. Like I said, choose a role before you start building skills or you start choosing courses. And so you identify your role first, you start building skills for that role, and then in our upcoming sessions, we will share more about this and how to grow yourself in the energy sector. I hope that this has helped you and it will help you more in your career as you develop. Thank you.